Hey guys! So today we are answering a subscriber question, and the question in question is, Frederick, how do you deal with a senior coworker who sabotages your efforts or your code because of ego problems? So let's get into it. So this is what everybody is afraid of, or rather, this is what companies like this thing is the main reason why we have these excruciatingly hard recruitment processes. We have tons and tons of people who don't get into the industry for a varying degree of reasons and things of this nature. Usually it is because they believe that it is the juniors who will cause this sort of issue. And to a point, it's absolutely true that juniors can cause this sort of issue, but it's much more dangerous when you have a senior who causes this issue. And it's also one of the main reasons why people have realized that, soft skills is a thing, and being able to collaborate and this sort of thing is actually kind of important, apart of course from being able to manage stakeholders. So I will tell you right here and now that a senior developer who has too much influence in the expert democracy, and by the expert democracy I mean that most of what software development, how it works when you work in an IT company, is that you cannot do the things that you think that you can do in smaller projects or when you're a one-man company or woman company. You cannot just sit down and do whatever you want unless people really don't care about your work. Usually you need to inform, you need to raise an idea and a suggestion, and then everybody kind of gets to share their opinions about that suggestion. And in the expert democracy, which is pretty much how software runs, the person who has the perceived highest value within the company and who is still opinionated is the person who the most amount of people are going to listen to. So in other words, if you have a senior coworker with a bit of an attitude or who is fairly opinionated, you will hopefully, as a company and as coworkers to this person, you really need to have that person at the very least be someone who is so unflawed that they almost always have the correct answer to everything. Because if they don't, they can fuck up your entire code base systematically. You might even lose people because of such a person. And examples of this, like we have these problems in open source as well, where these profiles within the industry have they are good at what they do, but they basically they rule with an iron fist. And although no one is in charge, they unofficially becomes in practice they are in charge, simply because they have more seniority. They intimidate other people because of their knowledge and their experience. So as a junior, you're in a very unfortunate position when you find yourself in this sort of seat where, guys, this doesn't just have to be a junior. I've been here a few times as well, where I can see that the decisions that a senior coworker or a manager, like a person who is in charge or who is perceived to have a higher value, who everybody gets to kind of shim in on, like whatever opinion, whatever discussion we're going to have, right, or whatever decision we're going to make. I've worked under such an individual for quite some time, and it's really hard. Really hard to change this behavior. If it's not that person of themselves that has that is going to pretty much refuse anything you do unless it's in line with what they believe, then other people are going to go with whatever they say because they're afraid or they perceive that person as being more valuable. And you can sit there and you can do the thing that I do. It's the only way I know how to battle this, and that is to point out, just objectively point out the reasons as to why this is a bad idea. And this comes into this, I think I've said before. Software development is more tribal than you can possibly imagine. You can be right, you can technically be right, but you have to be right enough, or the issues that you raise needs to matter enough so that you can very objectively prove that, hey, this is a really bad thing. Unless you can prove that, the person who has the strongest opinion, or the expert in the democracy, is going to be the person who wins every single time. So as a junior, the only thing you can do is to arm yourself with examples as to why these decisions are bad or why these decisions are good. And the sucky part about it is that there's only a certain category of issues where you might win this argument. You can completely forget about ever winning one of these arguments. If, let's say, if you want to, in JavaScript land, a good one is, alright, you want to use a certain way of writing something. You want to use promise chaining, or you want to use async await, or you want to use destructuring, things of this nature. And for some reason, your senior coworker doesn't like that. They have some reasons as to why they don't want to do this. You can almost completely forget about ever winning that argument if that person is opinionated enough. There is nothing you can do, because you are perceived to be lower value than that individual, and that individual has a stronger will or is more opinionated. But you may be able to win an argument where you see that they are trying to be clever with something. I've actually been starting to finally get to a point where I can actually show this. It's not where it is just yet, because I'm sorry to say that I have enough personal security to be able to challenge a person who has made, who makes these sorts of decisions on behalf of myself and my coworkers at one point. And the problem is that I could never really get anybody else on board, because in order for you to actually win over such a person with a lot of influence within the company, the only way is either if they are allowing it, and if you can get all your other teammates on board with okay, this is the way things have been working. If we look at this objectively, we see that this is not really working out for us. But if we start doing things in this manner, we might actually see an improvement. And that has to do with a joint effort. If you are the single person who is pushing for it and everybody else is too scared to actually do anything, then you need to raise everybody's morale, or they need to mature into their roles as well. That's at least what I've found, because basically it comes down to personal security. Going against the wishes of a really a senior person with a lot of strong opinions comes down to their level of influence, because if they have complete control, then you just have to bow your head and do whatever they say. Or if they are they're not technically in charge, then it comes to personal security. Then you and your teammates or your other coworkers need to feel secure enough to actually make a decision that that person doesn't like. And that's something, you should always hear them out, because, they are a senior, and as I said, it's a dangerous road to walk as well, because it might be that you are incorrect about the things that you believe in. It might be that they actually do have a point, it's just that you can't see it. So it's a fine line to tread, but it is the best way of achieving this. You will have to accept in software development that sometimes you will not find common ground. You have to agree to disagree and just make a decision and move in that direction. But for sure, this is the only way it's the only tip I can give you when it comes with dealing with a senior who has an ego trip or is too opinionated. So what I want you to take away from this is that if you're working with a senior coworker who shuts your ideas down or things of this nature, the first thing you really need to think about is, of course, do they actually have a point? Because it might be that you simply don't see the point that they have, which is, I will tell you right now, is very common as a junior. You will have that magical moment where you start to feel comfortable in your own skill sets, but it's unlikely that you have the same sort of experience, and it might be that you're simply on that magical power high that comes with feeling confident in your own skills, and you start overcomplicating things, or you start doing things that you shouldn't be doing, and the senior is actually just trying to help you. But there are absolutely situations where a senior is doing these same sorts of mistakes. And as I said, I've seen seniors make decisions, or experts within the democracy make decisions that cripple the productivity of almost everybody in the company. And nobody challenges this person, because they, for them it's not a problem, but for everybody else in the company it's a problem. And the only way to really face off against that is if the senior, first and foremost, is open to the idea of doing something in a different way, or if they don't have the power to actually do anything, as long as you and your teammates, like the rest of the company, are okay with making a decision that they are not on board with. So for juniors, you can completely forget about these small syntactic things. If they don't want you to, if they don't want to allow it, they're not going to allow it. But for bigger things where you can really clearly show that this is actually causing issues, all you really need to do is to either have a talk with whoever is in charge of, like with their manager, or you need to just talk amongst yourself, talk with the other developers, and make an informed decision to say, well, I see that we have these issues, and maybe we should change our approach. So it comes from personal maturity. So remember that personal maturity is, and being able to make a decision without having everybody on board is, it's a skill that you will have to master in order to be effective in software development, because sometimes the only thing you can do is agree to disagree. Have a great day.